really do. I hate them. I cannot stand them. With all of the things we did with the tax cuts and rebuilding our military, not one Democrat voted for us. And I think we use it in the campaign that's coming up, the midterms, because
we are now 8 days away from Christmas and 3 days away from finding out if our president was naughty or nice on that list he's been hiding. He's been sharpieing over it twice. We got an early gift from the White House.
This is the funniest fail you'll see all week, and somehow it keeps getting worse by the second. One late-night joke, one bruised ego, and suddenly the internet is glued to a full-blown meltdown unfolding live. Jimmy Kimmel barely lifted a finger, yet the reaction was nuclear, dramatic, and completely unfiltered. What set him off, and why can't anyone stop laughing? Stick around, this spiral is legendary, and it only escalates from here.
4 latkes and 2 yarmulkes. It was weird. I wonder if he forced them to say Merry Christmas. You know, among the many wars Trump's been bragging about ending, he seems most proud of ending the war on Christmas. Nobody loves to take credit for the words Merry and Christmas more than our own Santa Claus.
If I become president, we're all going to be saying Merry Christmas again. That I can tell you. Very soon, we're going to start saying Merry Christmas again. I told you that we would be saying Merry Christmas again, right? They weren't saying Merry Christmas. Now they're saying Merry Christmas.
He stormed off the set like a hurricane trapped in a gilded storm. Sell or no metaphor needed. This wasn't performative outrage or playful drama. It was a real, unfiltered meltdown, the kind usually reserved for tabloid headlines. Not something you ever expect to watch unfold live on national television.
When you think he can't go any lower, he somehow finds a way to do that. His description of what happened, of course, is not at all what happened. And this is exactly what I've spoken about before, this rush to pin the tail on the donkey in pursuit of the Trump-friendly narrative, not to mention blaming his death on the fact that he is an outspoken liberal, insulting someone who's just been murdered, who leaves children behind without having any idea of what actually happened. It's so hateful and vile. When I first saw it, I thought it was fake. My wife showed it to me this morning. I was like, well, even for him, that seemed like...
Wait a second, enjoying the video. Let's make it official. Hit that subscribe button and stick around, because the best moments are still coming. Now, back to the chaos. This was the kind of performance that makes people wonder if he was auditioning for a reality show called Presidents? Who can't handle late night, and somehow, he truly believed he was winning against Jimmy. Kimmel.
Kentucky Fried President was in Pennsylvania last night delivering a speech about the economy that was almost not at all about the economy. He went out to talk about the economy. It was a long speech. He hasn't been out in a while. If he had talked for 3 more minutes, it would have legally been classified an Avatar movie. That's how long he went on. Did all his greatest hits. He did Windmills, Sleepy Joe, Bing, 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 all the crowd pleasers. He told the MAGA faithful who are having trouble making ends meet that their kids don't need so many dolls.
The man whose nightly routine is cracking jokes and eating tacos on late-night TV somehow transformed, in Trump's mind, into a threat to democracy, or at least a brutal assault on his ego? The fallout didn't come in any expected way. No policy failure. No press conference disaster. Those are routine. This was different. A complete wipeout fueled entirely by mockery, unfolding in front of millions.
Landslide, Trump might actually be able to rebury the Epstein files under it. The Senate today sent the bill to the White House. Now, usually when Trump gets a bill, he declares bankruptcy and doesn't pay it. But this one, he's going to have to sign it, or at least he says he's going to sign it, which means there's about maybe a 12% chance he will. Trump hasn't been this nervous about signing something since Don Jr.'s birth certificate. And he's not the only one. Speaker Mike Johnson, who shut most of Washington down for like 2 months.
Man whose daily job is cracking jokes and eating tacos on late-night TV, somehow became, in Trump's mind, a threat to democracy, or at least a direct hit to his ego. The carnage didn't unfold in any traditional way. No policy collapse. No press conference gaffe. Come on, that's a given. This was different. A pure landslide powered entirely by ridicule.
But all of the things that we've given, and they wouldn't vote only because they hate Trump. But I hate them too, you know that? So it's sort of, I really do, I hate them. I cannot stand them because I really believe they hate our country.
Trump is said to be so close with Susie Wiles. Last week he called her Susie Trump. And I hope the new Mrs. Trump got a prenup because her husband definitely does not like this interview she did. She sat for 11 interviews over the course of the last...
This was pure ego warfare, a verbal joust where one side arrived armed with wit, timing, and an audience that understands the difference between satire and reality, while the other side seemed convinced sarcasm was a personal attack designed to fracture the nation itself. The fallout? Picture a Twitter account fully ablaze. Drenched in capital letters and drowning in fake news retweets, the first impact hit the moment. Jimmy Kimmel leaned into the camera, like he knew exactly where the soft underbelly of Trump's ego was buried. He didn't raise his voice. Trump did, or tried to. At first it was subtle. A few tweets, caps lock naturally engaged. Totally unfair, he typed, as if the universe itself had conspired to deliver an insult wrapped in a candy shell. Then came the videos, the Instagram rants, the half-baked press releases that read like someone mashed a crossword, puzzled together with a conspiracy newsletter. Each statement somehow managed to be both defensive and aggressively, a combination that defies logic but somehow defines Trump. Trump ate for latkes and 2 It was weird not...
A few hours later, a White House reporter gave Trump the chance to take another shot to act like a human being.
A number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. You know, it was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind.
While the public watched in disbelief, not because the meltdown was unexpected. This is a man who treats televised moments like personal attacks, but because the scale of it felt almost cartoonish. There's political heat, and then there's full-blown cartoon chaos. Somehow Trump marched straight across that line, carrying a 10-foot ego like a balanced pole. He wasn't just losing an argument, he was flailing in slow motion, arms wide, face contorting in ways that made you wonder if Saturday morning cartoons had been part of his media diet. The irony was exquisite. A man who spent years attacking comedians, late-night hosts, and anyone who smiled without permission was now completely undone by the very institution he mocked. And because nothing with Trump is ever small, the meltdown evolved into a full-scale media. Blitz.CNN, Fox, Twitter, every platform flooded with what could only be described as Trump's own version of poetic chaos.net.
He said you only need a couple of dolls and 1 or 2 pencils. The guy who bedazzled this room in gold thinks your child has too many pencils at school. His strategy, it seems, is to just keep saying things are great, which is the same mistake Joe Biden made, by the way. You can't just tell people the economy's good when they're paying more for everything. We know how much things cost. People are looking at the price of apples with our eyes, and then you're telling us to not see it. He wants us to be...
The phrase destroyed by a joke was trending before most people had finished their morning coffee cable. News anchors scrambled to explain it. Pundits dusted off words like humiliation and ego collapse. And somewhere, a late-night writer popped champagne. Because it truly doesn't get better than this. Trump's response strategy was about as stable. As a storm in a teacup, first came disbelief. How could a joke just words be aimed at me? Then outrage. This is a national embarrassment. Next. Denial. I wasn't destroyed. In fact, I won. Totally won. And finally, nobody handles humor like I do. Everybody agrees. Watching it unfold was like seeing someone juggle flaming chainsaws while riding a unicycle blindfolded. One line, a single raised eyebrow. A pause long enough for the audience to lean in and breathe. And the entire edifice of bravado collapsed. If Trump were a castle, this siege was carried out entirely with feather dusters. Of course, Trump wasn't helpless. He fought back, but the defense was laughable, if not oddly fascinating. Picture a man convinced he's untouchable, furiously typing at midnight on a phone, smart enough not to autocorrect truth into a joke.
So scared of Trump. What is going on? Is he beating them? I don't get it. They just blindly defend him. They don't know what's in those files. They're taking his word for it. They're taking the word of someone who paid a porn star $130,000 and claims he didn't do anything with her. Even if Trump keeps his promise and signs the bill, We don't know whether the Department of Justice will actually release all the files or if they'll be tied up in investigations, specifically investigations Trump orders to keep them tied up in investigations. And that is where things...
Each statement was both defensive and self-serving. Like a toddler explaining why eating cookies before dinner is actually a moral imperative, he appealed to his followers, rallied his base, and dredged up grievances old and new. Spinning a storm of narrative that was impressive in ambition, but tragic in execution, even the aides weren't spared. Staffers scrambled for damage control, which meant frantic meetings, speech edits, and the awkward realization that no PR magic could undo a punchline delivered on national TV. It was a perfect storm of irony. A president undone not by policy, scandals, or elections, but by a joke, a cultural moment. A lesson in how comedy can shape perception, reshape narratives, and, in this case, visibly unnerve a man who has spent years unsettling the world. The absurdity was, ironically, grounding. For once, the universe delivered a spectacle that felt fair, if only because it was exquisitely ironic. Meanwhile, Trump's rallies marched on I
don't know if you heard, there's a very big announcement at the White House last night. Donald Jr. somehow got in and revealed that he is engaged to his girlfriend, Bettina Anderson. There they are together. I think we just figured out why Daddy's building that ballroom, huh? According to People magazine, Bettina is an advocate for a foundation that funds research for the treatment of depression, which is something she will definitely need being married to.
This is the part that elevates the ordeal to something resembling Shakespearean tragedy. On stage, he projected unwavering confidence, claiming victory over invisible foes, announcing triumphs over jokes, comedians, and somehow, even gravity itself. His supporters cheered, not fully grasping what had just happened, but eager to follow the leader, promising endless battles, both real and imagined. Meanwhile, every eye in the nation had witnessed the spectacle of his meltdown. Turning the rally into a strange mix of defiance and ironic disbelief, the internet had found its prey. Savoring every pixel for Trump, this wasn't just a joke. It was an ambush, a meticulously orchestrated strike designed to expose, in painful detail, the human frailty of hubris. And yet there is a method to the madness. Trump, for all his theatrics, has always understood optics.
Corroded brain is in charge of our lives. If you voted for that, it's okay to reconsider. It's perfectly fine. And I have to say, I know from my personal interactions with Rob Reiner that he would want us to keep pointing out the loathsome atrocities that continue to ooze out of this sick and irresponsible man's mouths. And so we're going to do that over and over again until the rest of us...
But here the optics betrayed him. The visual record was merciless. A man larger than life in the media was reduced to flailing responses, oversized hand gestures, and a voice caught somewhere between indignation and desperation. Television audiences watched, horrified and delighted at once, as the human version of a fireworks misfire unfolded live. Even commentators who normally supported him couldn't help but pause. There's a line between criticism and spectacle. Here, the spectacle was unavoidable. The laughter, the disbelief, the universal recognition that this wasn't politics, it was theater. Shakespeare would have appreciated it. Kimmel might have wept quietly in a corner. Each attempt to regain footing only exposed another layer of ego unraveling. This was not just a reaction. It was an ongoing performance piece of denial.
Will we have the original documents, or is Trump going to pull a Taylor Swift and give us the Epstein files, Donnie's version of the document? We might not ever know. Trump claims this whole thing is a Democrat hoax, and the reason he refused to sign an executive order to release the files months ago is because it's a waste of time. And that's the thing about Donald Trump. This is not a man who wastes time on nonsense.
We're going to have a UFC fight. Think of this on the grounds of the White House.
This is an executive order relating to the use.
And somewhere in all of this, we can admit it. Yes, it's funny. Yes, it's absurd. And yes, it's completely, wonderfully human. Of course, the aftermath wasn't just jokes and tweets. Oh no! It spilled into every corner of American life. Late-night shows suddenly entered a golden era, fueled not by policy, but by watching a president wrestle with his own reflection. Memes weren't just funny. They became historical documentation. Clips circulated with captions like, "When you realize a comedian knows more about timing than the commander-in-chief knows about humility." Historians, if paying attention, would probably file it under cultural turning points. though most were too busy laughing to write anything coherent, wondering if the human ego has a limit, or if they were just watching a man single-handedly redefine meltdown. And let's be honest, this wasn't just a political hiccup. It was a full-blown personality implosion wrapped in tweets, camera angles, and a series of perfectly timed comedic punches. The irony, of course, was delicious. Not changed for decades. Trump built a persona that seemed untouchable by criticism. "Nobody insults me and gets away with it," he would declare, as if the universe itself conspired to protect him. And yet, here we are, one man armed with nothing but a microphone, a grin, and impeccable timing, completely bypassed walls of media training, spin doctors, and Twitter defenses. The armor melted faster than snow on a Florida sidewalk in July. It was beautiful. It was tragic. It was unforgettable. Even Trump's attempts at recovery added to the comedy. Every statement, press release, and interview became another opportunity for irony. The nation watched history unfold, one flailing response at a time. And maybe that's the real takeaway. Power, influence, and bravado can only carry you so far. At the end of the day, timing, wit, and the audacity to hit the soft spot of an ego can achieve what no policy paper, legal strategy, or PR team ever could. He reminded the world that the strongest force in the room isn't money, fame, or followers. It's humor, and it's unstoppable.